Hello, welcome to Mr. B's Ukulele channel. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy watching.
This is my tutorial for Louis Armstrong's 1967 masterpiece, What a Wonderful World. And this really is a sensational and beautiful song. What an inspiring piece of music this is, and a great one to learn on your ukulele. So there's nothing too tricky about this one. There were 6 different chords, but nothing too difficult amongst them. And then you've got the option of either some very simple strumming all the way through or a nice little finger picking pattern. I'm going to look at both, giving the option. This works really nicely if you finger pick it, as we will see just in a moment. So you can choose between those. This is a great piece to pick up if you can finger pick well and just enjoy singing. And if you're struggling with the finger picking, it is a great study piece to learn how to finger pick nice and steadily. So it's a great piece either way to jump into with a bit of finger picking, although I have put the strumming in there as an alternative just in case you want it. So we'll start with the chord selection, then we'll look at the strumming and the finger picking, then we'll do a bit of a walkthrough, look at the layout and finish with a demo. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, let's have a look at our chords. Now I'm going to start off by saying there are 2 chords where I have slightly amended them, and that's just specifically for the finger picking today. However, even if you're doing the strumming, you can put the amended version in if you want to. So what it does is add the top C onto the A minor chord and the F chord. The reason I've done that is because both those chords have a C in them anyway, and I've just put the top C in as well. If I don't do that, when we strum, an A minor chord sounds fine, but when we pick it, you end up with that double A, because the G string with your second finger down is an A, and then the open A string is an A. So you end up with a very incomplete sounding arpeggio there. Whereas if you put that top C in, it sounds very, very nice indeed, as it does with the F. Here's the original F, the normal F chord. Same problem, but if we put that top C in, and again we've got that beautiful arpeggio pattern to play around with. So you'll see 2 amended chords there, and I'll start by explaining that there for you, just so you understand why I've done that. So we've got the A minor, second and third finger this time for the A minor. We've also got our C chord, which is just our third finger on the A string. We've then got our F, again with that third finger on the C string. So first and second finger on the first and second fret as normal, with our third finger on the A string for the F chord. Then we've got the E minor chord. First finger on the A string on the second fret, second finger on the E string on the third fret, third finger on the C string on the fourth fret. Then we've got the E7. First finger on the G string on the first fret, second and third finger on the second fret on the C and the A string. And then we've got the G7. First finger on the E on the first fret, and then second and third finger on the C and the A on the second fret there. So make sure you're comfortable with all of those chords, because when you're learning the finger picking, if you're mixing up your chords as well, you'll get in a right muddle very quickly. So make sure you're really secure with those chords before you have a go at the finger picking. We'll look at the strumming and then the finger picking right now. So the strumming is really easy. I'm going to just do it on a C. It's just a down, down, up. Down, down, up, down, down, up. So you can do that all the way through if you want to, and that's absolutely fine. However, the piece works so much nicer if we do the finger picking. So do have a crack at the finger picking if you can, because it really does work beautifully on the ukulele, and it really brings the ukulele to life. So our finger picking pattern is this. Let me just play it to you, and then I'll talk you through it carefully. I've just played you the introduction there. So starting on a C chord, we've got a nice little arpeggio pattern. So it's the C string, E string, G string, A string, G string, E string, and then back to the C as we start again. C, E, G, A, G, E. Now it's really important which way we're using our thumb and our fingers here, because it really helps get into a pattern if we're using them consistently. So if you look on the pattern that I've put on the sheet music there, I've done it color coded so you can really see clearly what we want you to do. So the C should be on your C string should start with your thumb, that's marked in red. And then our E string is going to be our index finger there. Then the G string is going to be your thumb again. And then the A string is going to be your middle finger. So alternating thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index, thumb, middle. And that alternating pattern gives us a really nice feel to the rhythm as well. So thumb, index, thumb, middle. Let's just do those 4 to begin with. So C, E, G, A. Thumb, index, thumb, middle. Thumb, index, thumb, middle. Thumb, index, thumb, middle. Then back to the thumb and back to the index. So C, E, G, A. Back to the G, back to the E. Thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index. Try and play along with me. And it really just lilts and flows along really beautifully once you've got that off. So do work on that if you need to, and if you're comfortable with that, we can jump straight into the piece. So here's a walkthrough, see how it all fits together. Okay, let's jump into verse 1. We've already looked at the introduction, so we'll look at verse 1 and then we'll look at the chorus, and then you'll have everything you need to put the piece together. So it starts with the C chord. I see trees of E minor, green, to the F with the raised C. Red roses, back to the E minor, 2, to the F. I see them see bloom, and that's a nice easy transition because you go from the F and the C, you just lift your first 2 fingers off. Bloom, 4 E7, me, and 4 A minor, you, and that's with the raised C as well, so it's 2 fingers there. And I F with the raised C, think to myself, G7, what a wonderful world. C, F, G7. And then we're into verse 2. And you'll see at the end of some of the verses, I finish with, actually I should have sung it up a bit there. I finish with C, F, G7. If it finishes on C, F, G7, it goes like this. What a wonderful world. Because that's leading on into the next verse. And then if it ends C, F, C, we sing, what a wonderful world. Because we've come and finished on the root chord there. So if it finishes on the C, we sing, what a wonderful world. If it finishes on the G7, we sing, what a wonderful world. Because it sounds like it's going to go into the next verse there. Okay, one little thing on verse 1 there is probably the hardest bit there is going from the E minor, rather the C, to the E minor. And then the F and the E minor. So that first line of each verse is probably the hardest bit in the song actually, because the E minor is quite a tricky chord to fingerpick. The reason being, your third finger is going onto the C string on the 4th fret there. So 1, 2, 3. That should what your E minor should look like. Your third finger is on the C string on the 4th fret. But that's the first string you're going to pluck with our finger picking pattern. So you've got to be really quick and accurate to get that third finger into place. Sometimes, I don't know whether you're like me, sometimes I find my first and second fingers go into position quite quickly. My third finger's just slightly behind. But you've got to be really accurate and fast and get that third finger down on the E minor. Otherwise, it doesn't sound right when you finger pick it. So if I do that again, we've got the C, E minor. But if I didn't get that third finger down, all goes wrong. The pattern doesn't work. So it's got to be C, E minor, F, E minor. You've got to get those E minors down really quickly, otherwise you might find it sounding really funny, like what's gone on there? It's because that third finger wasn't in the right place on your E minor chord. So quick tip there, that's the area to focus your practice on to get a really smooth transition from the C to the E minor and to the F to the E minor. Those E minors can catch you out. Then we're into the chorus on the G7. The colours of the rainbow, back to the C, so pretty in the sky. Back to the G7. are also on the faces of sea. People going by, I see. Now we're doing the A minor to E minor again. Friends shaking hands again, quick on the E minor, saying A minor. How do you do on the E minor? Back to the A minor. They're really E7 saying to the F, high love, G7 you. I hear babies cry, and then we're into the next verse. So that's the verse, that's the chorus. You can see how it all works. Let's have a quick look at the layout so you can see how to read it. Like I said a minute ago, we've got an introduction at the start, nice and simple, just a nice series of chords to fingerpick before you start singing. Then it goes verse 1 and then verse 2, then it's the chorus. So we don't do the chorus every time. Verse 1 and 2 and then the chorus. Then we go to verse 3, back to the chorus, and then you'll see on the end we repeat verse 3, and at the very end we do that repeated "and I think to myself, what a wonderful world" line at the end. And the reason being, as I said earlier, depending on whether you're finishing on the C or the G7, you either sing "what a wonderful world," "what a wonderful world." So those last two lines I'll just do. And I think to myself, G7, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, G7 again. This time I'm going to finish on the C. What a wonderful world. F, C. Okay, there we go. So you can see how that all fits together, and with the ending on there as well. So I'll finish with the demo so you can get a bit of a glimpse of how it sort of fits in. You can actually do the chords, the strumming, or the finger picking you'll see in the demo, so you can then see how that all works. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, please do like and subscribe. It always makes a huge difference. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Colours of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful